Time to check the pipes. Me. All right. I sound all right to me. I sound like I'm in a can for some reason. Refresh the live broadcast. Okay. Chat up. I think you guys can hear my air conditioning. I'm going to turn that thing off. Okay, let's test some things out here. How do we sound right now? Check. No. Oh, that sounds really bad. Check. Check. Oh, that doesn't sound too bad. Check. We'll go with this one for now. But let's go with this one. Okay, there we go. How do I sound to all of you who are currently watching? Just give a thumbs up towards my camera that I don't have on at the moment. Thanks, Rebecca. Oh, need to mute myself in the background too. There we go. Many windows. I say it every time I do a stream. I need a third monitor here for the various windows that I have open during all of my presentations, be it a lunch and learner, whatnot. So we'll slow walk this in. Hi, folks. My name is Matt Goins. For those of you who don't know me, hi. I am with the WiscWeb team. I wear many different hats on the team. Primarily, most people will know me as sort of like the communications slash trainer um, uh, person on the team. I handle most of the communications that come out from the service, as well as a lot of this stuff, a lot of the one-on-one outreach, um, trainings, these different types of things. So, this is the next in the line of my various Learn with Matt sessions. I don't really know what to call these things because they're kind of training, they're kind of informational, they're kind of just me wanting to tinker around with some things and let you all sort of watch me either end up with pie on my face or figure some things out. Um, so that's what the Learn with Matt series is just about. It's just about tinkering, learning, and then from there, um, building something within a Whisk website. And not really just a Whisk website. It's really just the UW theme itself. So the purpose of today is to kind of reintroduce the idea of image editing and image editing specifically using Photoshop, and I'll get into that in a second here. What types of page elements and what types of content within your site you can use those images with, things to think about as you are using images, purpose, types, things of that nature. And then, we'll kind of close up a little bit at the end, talking a little bit about the like thinking outside of the box for some of these types of images. Some things that I have um, just been thinking about lately that I'll just bestow upon all of you as my brain kind of goes to those places. So first things first, images and websites. Images and websites are important. They are significant elements of a user experience whenever you are building a website out. There's something that you can use to um, strengthen the content, or in some cases, um, it's hard to say replace the content, but to use in addition to the content that you are putting on the page from a text standpoint. So, let me just bounce out to my uh, the site that I am tinkering with, so that way we're not just looking at me. There we go. Then the various many things that I have to have up as I'm talking. Again, third monitor would be great. So I guess first things first to talk about is when you're looking for images, think about the users and how they are going to experience those images, how they are going to consume those images. Think about the various types of devices that people are going to be using, and how like a mobile device is going to stack images versus a desktop experience, which will have like your full, you know, laid out experience for that. So really think about how you're using them. Think about the purpose of the image in relation to the content that you are using it with. Um, That's an important one because a lot of times I will see sites use images just for the sake of using an image, and you don't need to do that. You if the image serves a purpose, use it. If the image is just there because you feel like you want to throw an image on there, it's not really going to um, have the impact on your audience and on your content that something that is significant would. So make sure that you are using images that actually are supporting the content that you are displaying. And we'll get into that a little bit more when you have to think about um, like the types of images that you're using. So the next thing is the quality of the image. The quality of the image that you are um, I'll, I'll bring this over here as I'm kind of going down my rundown here. Um, the quality of the image really matters because um, we'll talk about this with the hero images. The hero images are one where you see it most often, where someone will try to take an image that is too small and they'll try to put it into a hero image. And all of a sudden, that image is this gigantic pixelated mess. And rather than fix it and make it look better or don't use it at all, which quite frankly is what I would prefer. Like if the image doesn't look good, don't use it because I'm someone who will look at a page, see the image that is not very good quality, and maybe it's just my nature, but a bad quality image will distract me from the content on the page. Um, and that's not anything intentional other than just from a visual learner standpoint. I'm a visual learner. I am distracted right away by something that just throws me off that way. So make sure that you're using good quality images. I often joked with folks whenever I was teaching on campus. This is a little bit more difficult right now, but if anybody has a phone, a smartphone, you're literally walking around with your own camera. Go walk on campus and there's so many really interesting things to take pictures of around your buildings, around the areas that our buildings are located on. Just walking up to the lakefront, um, just walking down the street and just seeing dozens of students walking down the street as well. It's that kind of thing where you have the ability to just go out and start taking pictures. Um, and if you don't have a good picture, try to go take a better one. So the quality matters. And then the last thing is, can you actually use the image? Now, this is a big one for um, a lot of folks who just simply want to go out and Google an image and go, that image works good. I'm going to take that one. You can't just do that. Um, uh, if you aren't the one who took the picture or you don't have specific um, um, my brain just bumped there. So if you don't have specific why is my brain broken at the moment? Permission to use that image. So if it's not like royalty free or you haven't been given like written permission from the owner of the image, that's something that you can get in trouble for because of the fact that it becomes a copyright concern there. So that'll kind of lead me into my next thought, which is where can you get images from? So, first and foremost, the easiest one to look for is go.wisc.edu/photos, and I'll put this in the chat. But this is our campus photo library, and you have to log in. So obviously, I'm logged in already. But if you go to galleries, there are a number of images out here. So I'll just go into most recent uploads. Um, Lots of lots of pictures here. Whenever I think of these, I always think about the limnology site because I can always go out and find good pictures of the lakefront down by the Union, where near where the limnology department is. But I mean that's a gorgeous photo of um, the red gym there. Here's some really cool photos here. Now again, I just said a little bit ago, make sure that the image means something to your content. Um, that's something else to think of as you are um, working through finding these images. But there are lots of options out here. You can also do a search. So let's see, students. Students is kind of broad, so I won't be able to do that. So let's talk maybe research. So there's images of students actually doing research. you know so lots of gorgeous images out here for us to use for this. So if I let's see if I can find a decent one. So let's go with this one. So when you click on an image, you'll see the image itself. You will see the various uh, uh, um, caption information about it. To download it, you just simply click over here on the lower right. It will ask you to choose what format you want. I tend to always go with the large because the large gives me more to work with. So I will download that. It will download the image. Eventually, there it is. It downloaded it. So now it's in my downloads folder and I can do something with it. There are also search for Unsplash. Unsplash is a um, another one. Again, this is the kind of thing where you're kind of going into, does this really meet my need from a campus standpoint? But there are some royalty-free images, royalty-free sites out there for images. So that's the type of thing you need to look for there. Or if you're hiring someone for your department or for your program to just go take some pictures, make sure that you have that information about the fact that these images are used with permission from the original photographer, et cetera, that type of stuff there. So that's the aspect of getting good quality images. Make sure that you're choosing those. And then the last thing to talk about is accessibility. This one's a big one that I'm going to hammer on quite a bit because of the fact that it is the easiest thing to do. It is also the easiest thing to miss when we are talking about accessibility and images. So the first and foremost one I'll get into in a second here, a little bit more to show you how to edit it, but alt text, alternative text when you are using your images. Um, because WordPress does not enforce the alt text functionality, we can't within the UW theme enforce it. But when it comes to a campus website, honestly, it should be for any website, but I can only guide you on your campus websites, really. You must have alternative text applied to your images when you are putting them on your pages. This is significant because of the fact that you're going to have different audiences that consume your content differently. So think of your audiences that may have uh, some sort of vision disability or some sort of cognitive disability where they are using screen reader software to consume your site. Well, someone who can't see obviously cannot see the image. So alternative text will help them with words see the image. It allows you to paint a picture sort of with words. Um, but far too often I will be supporting a site. Someone will ask me for some help with something and I'll be looking at a page and I'll check out the images that they're using because something's not working right, and I'll see Oh, no alt text. And I'll go into their media library and I'll just see every image that I click on. No alt text, no alt text, no alt text. It is such a habit forming thing. You have to get into that habit. So I'll show where the alt text comes into play in a second here. The other one to touch on, and I will touch on this one when I start to put some images on the page, is we have a lot of folks who use data charts, um, word clouds, infographics, things like that, things that are very heavily worded or have some sort of data reference on them. When you're putting that type of stuff on your page, if you are not supporting it with the text on the page as well, you're doing your audiences who cannot see that content a disservice. So you need to make sure that you are paying attention to those types of things as well. So again, I'll throw up a word cloud in a little bit here to kind of hit on that a little bit more as well. All right, so let's talk a little bit about getting images into your site, and let's start talking a little bit about where these images can fit into your particular locations. So I'm in my training site right now. So I'm going to go to my media library. Again, this is where all of your images exist within your site. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to upload several images here. WordPress is drag and drop, so I have 9 images that I'm going to upload. So I'm just going to drop them in there. Let them all get uploaded. So as they're uploading, one of the things that I would always say, and this is what I would say for any image that you put up there, is your alt text is just something quick. So honestly, the caption is good enough for me. Bascom Hall framed with red and white zinnia blooms. That's it. That's all I need. That paints the picture. So now let me get out of this one. All these other ones are taking their sweet time uploading. Got a few pictures here of my son's football scrimmage from last week. I've hit that realization, or not that realization. I've hit that moment as a parent where my son is now a high schooler. He's a freshman. So that's both overwhelming and cool at the same time. Oh, come on. I'm going to do some different things with these images, so that's why I was choosing them for the purposes of this class. All right, well, while those are still uploading, I'm going to go and just bounce into a page. So I'm going to add a new page. Let's just call it images for days. First page element that you can put an image into is the first thing that you see on a page itself, which is the upper content and the hero image area. So the hero image area is that giant image at the top of your page. It's nice to have, but not necessary to have. Again, purpose of the content, purpose of the image with relation to the content that you have. Note that the hero area is 1600 pixels wide by 500 pixels high. The high is manageable up to the 500. The 1600 pixels wide is not manageable. This is a must. So now I can click add image. Let's go ahead and grab this one here. So you can see what this image looks like right there, but I'm going to click select. Here's the little preview of it. I will click my save draft. And then let's preview it. And so now you'll see this is what the theme does by default. The theme will automatically crop based on the center of the image, and it will crop it top and bottom. Now, this isn't too bad. This doesn't this doesn't throw me off too much. But sometimes you'll have way too large of an image, and for example, I said Bascom Hall was framed. Well, what if it's just the image all of a sudden just cut here? That would be that wouldn't carry the same weight as what this one does right here. So again, something to note there. We won't get into the whole training of this stuff. I won't go into this. But that's something to note there. And I'll talk in a second here when we start talking about editing the images themselves. But this is the first one that has that particular area there. Obviously, you have your text block. The text block can consume any size and type of image. But this is again one of those spots where you want to make sure you're using something that supports the content. So you can choose an image. Um, let's drop him in there. Let's add some alt text to it. At the bottom, I can choose what size image I want. So I could go full size. Full size is way too big. So I'm going to go with the medium there and drop that into the page. You'll notice that it did center it. I didn't want that. So now I'll put it there. Align left. Get here. Nope. Oh, I'm using oh bother. Firefox doesn't give me the drag and drop that Chrome does. All right, fine. Please hold. Let's save this draft and then let's get out of here. Dun, 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 dun. And always, as always, guys, if you have questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat over there as I'm kind of poking around with this. I don't really have much of a. Oh, that's the wrong one. Um, a format for this. I'm kind of again just kind of doing a brain dump here. All right, so now with Chrome, I can do a drag and drop, and there it goes to the side. Up to. There you go. Okay. So again, images here. I can have it go right. I can have it go center. I can have it go left. Just whatever. No alignment. Then it gets kind of weird there. So that'll work for that standpoint. You'll notice that you do have the resize handles. You know, be careful with that because as you're doing this, if you can see, I'll zoom in a little bit now. Notice that what I did there is I tried to resize it manually, and it just completely tanked the quality of that image there. So um, I'm going to resize it down. If you ever find it where you want to change that size, just edit it and put the larger image in there. So that way you maintain the quality without, tanking the actual look of it. Okay, so images that go in there. Do I recommend another one other than Photoshop? Um, it's hard to say because I've only ever used Photoshop. I've used Microsoft Paint to do resizing and cropping, but like Microsoft Paint will do that type of stuff. And then also like I don't have any recommendations for Mac. That's the only thing is that I'm limited in my expertise for Mac. If he's actually watching, I would like Rich Gasson to chime in because I know he does some of this stuff. Um, um, to to do some of his image editing as well. Otherwise, reach out to Rich Gasson when it comes to uh, that type of stuff. I've only ever used Photoshop for my image editing, but I know that I can do it the various applications that exist on the computer. So, for example, um, for this one here, there is a cropping tool. So I could crop in this, and you'll see it's kind of doing it there. And so there you go. So now I could save a copy, and this is just Windows default photos thing there. Um, Paint works just as well for doing that. And yes, Rebecca, I will talk about that in a second here. Um, the second questions that you have there, Nicole. Okay to go smaller, yeah, because what happens is smaller. It it's using that same photo, so it's basing it off of those initial dimensions. But when you hit a certain point where those dimensions are now too small, you'll start to see some image breakdown there. And so I'm using the large image, so I'll really have to like mess around with this thing to do that type of thing. But um, to go smaller, you're just fine. Stick with medium there. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so other page elements that use images. So accordion panels, it's just a text editor. You can put it's just like a text block there, so you don't have to worry about that. Same applies there. Um, Alternating content boxes. So this is one of those spots. Let me open up um, our thing here. Image sizing recommendations for page elements. Okay, so we have this KB doc out there, and I'll toss this out in the chat as well. Bingo. Um, so this is our uh, image size recommendations. So you'll notice for alternating content boxes, 900 by 600. The reason why we have these out here is because, again, similar to the hero image, you you want to make sure that the image that you want in that block is the image that you want in that block. Because if you just throw a very large image in, it's always going to center it first and then crop to the size, the 900 by 600 of that particular content layout. So um, that's why we want you to be aware of this stuff here. So again, I'll go over this in Photoshop as well. So that's the alternating content block, 900 by 600 there. Faculty staff listing, your faculty images, you want them to start out at about 400 by 400. Nice square image there. I know that that's a very difficult thing to accomplish sometimes with the images that you're going to get from your faculty. So all you can do is just ask for essentially what I always do is I ask for a high resolution image. High resolution means a larger image size, because the larger the image I get, the more I can do with it to actually edit it down to be a more usable image. Featured content block, off the top of my head, I believe it's 900 by 600. Yep. So that's the featured content block. Image carousel is 900 by 600 as well. Image gallery is, it's just a blocked layout, so not so much here. The one thing I will say about the image gallery, and the one thing that I'll say about anytime you are laying out images in like a grid type style, you want consistency, because a lot of times what I'll see is you'll have a horizontal image, then you'll have a vertical image, then you'll have a horizontal image, then you'll have a couple vertical images, and it throws off that consistency. So you want to kind of watch out for that. And again, I say this knowing that it's difficult to always get those types of images, but just think about that sort of quality delivery of those images there. Nope, not the content layout. I think that's it. Yep. Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit about editing images and how to do that with Photoshop. So the one thing that I'll say, and I understand that people are hesitant to use Photoshop, but the use of Photoshop that I do is so very limited that it's not difficult to pick up. I kind of just do two or three things within Photoshop for my general use. Um, that I think it's simple enough, quick enough to use that I don't think you should be intimidated by it or um, don't overthink the fact that oh Photoshop it's such a big program. It is. It's a gigantic program that you can do hundreds of things with your images in. But I have never even scratched the surface of all the things you can do with it. And I've been using Photoshop since since I was in college myself and and way back in the 90s. Um so don't overthink it. It's okay to use. All right. So how do you get Photoshop? We have access to it here on campus via the campus software library or talk to your local IT to help get it installed. Um, you do have to log in to access it. You do have the Adobe site license, and then what you do is you download the Adobe Cloud installer, and then from the Adobe Cloud installer, you have access to the various applications that you want to install. And so obviously you can see that I have a number of them installed from there, but that's that. So Photoshop, how do you use it? What do you do with it? So here is Adobe Photoshop. Um, all you have to do to get this process started is you click open. You find the images that you want to use. So for example, if I want to edit this one to be 1600 by 500, the size that I want it to be, it'll load it up. Again, whole bunch of stuff here. You don't need to overthink all that stuff. So let me move some stuff around. Over here on the left side, the tool to be aware of is the crop tool. So I will click on that. And then, there are different ways that you can do this. You can drag and grab it that way. You have some automatic options up here that allow you to kind of do it this way. But honestly, what I do is up here at the top, this is where you can predefine your crop area. So since I know that 1600 pixels px is the width and 500 px is the height, and you'll notice it it literally did almost the exact same crop by default from before. And so now what I can do is I can take that and I can kind of move it around. So maybe I want to get the words Bascom Hall in there in that. So now I can zoom in a little bit here. And there you can see, I can go even higher to try and get Abe and the flag in there. I can go a little bit lower, get the words Bascom Hall in there, and still get some of the zinnies in there. And so once you know what it is that you want for that, you can click the check mark up here, and that cropped it to that specific size for me. And so now what I'll do is I'll click File, Save As, because I need to save this as a new image. So now what I'll say is, Bascom Hall, Zinnies, cropped. That way I know that this one is edited. So I'll save it, say OK. And now what I can do is I can bounce back on over to I'm in Chrome, to my media site here. Oh, cancel. Save you. Drag it up. grab this one from Corey as well to. Oh, it's already edited. It's already 400 by 400. I'll grab somebody's picture there. All right, so there's that. And then again, just make sure I get my alt text in there. And now I can do is I can go back over to my page, edit that, remove that one, add my image, put the new one up there that I just got, select it, save it, and preview. And there it is. And again, I mean, this is comfort, but I did that in I don't even know how long, 4 minutes. It is habit forming. So for those of you who are going to be doing this kind of stuff, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Um, so the one thing, the quality of it, tanking the quality, is if let me close this one and let me open the original again. One of the things that you watch out for is I'm just going to edit the image size overall. So it's 2400 wide. Let's say I do, let's say 1200 wide. Let's say 800 wide. Let's say, okay. Let's do file, save as, small. Save. Okay. Let's bounce back over to here. Let's edit this page. Let's remove you. Let's add the image. Let's put up the small one. So you'll see its size is right there, 800 by 532. Select it, save it, preview it, and there. Now you'll notice an image that is too small trying to be used in the hero area. And this is something that I see on way too many pages. Because what happens here is the necessary width is 1600. Because that width is not met, it is stretching it to 1600. But it has to compensate that stretch vertically as well. So now not only is it stretching it horizontally, it's also stretching it vertically to meet that space. And this is what it turns into, this type of quality image. So this is why picking larger images to start with is such an important thing, because now I have more that I can do with it. There's nothing I can do with an image that's this small to make it work in this space. It's not going to. And because it's not going to, and because it doesn't look good, I beg of all of you, don't use it. You have to be critical of your own work. It doesn't work. And if somebody says, well, we need that image up there, you have to go, it looks bad. It's not a good representation of our site. So, all right. So that's editing it down for the hero image. Let me really quick see. Well, I suppose I can use one of my son's images for the 400 by 400. So let's grab this one. This is the better quality one. So for a faculty member, remember it is 400 by 400. Get him centered. There you go. So this image is not a very good image, admittedly, but actually let's see here. Let me see if I can do this better this way. We could do it like this. That would be a better image to use for like a faculty staff page right there. But that's again, that's the kind of thing that you're using Photoshop for, is changing these cropping sizes up so that you can meet all of those various needs. Um, if I go back out and I know that the alternating content block is 900 by 600, that's 400 by 600. I can do it this way. And now I've got that 900 by 600 for the featured content block or the alternating content boxes there as well. Um, so again, I know that Photoshop is intimidating, but don't let it be. Um, it really is just the comfort of open, crop, numbers. Choose this value right up here, this width by height by resolution option up here, and put in your values, and then just make your crop. And this way, you create consistency amongst your images. And honestly, I would say even images that are like you're only going to be putting in your text box where you don't really need to specifically crop them out. Still take a thought of editing those images to maybe just tighten up what it is that you're putting in that particular area. Let's see. Da 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 da. Any questions? Anything you guys want to see me do with these images? Um, just go ahead and throw in there. One thing that I do want to say is, and I've shown people this in the past, but I'll show it to you here as well. So I'm going to go back to this original Bascom one. So remember how I said that hero image, the 1600 pixels matters. So now what I can do is I can actually set this to be, I mean, let's be silly and let's call it 100. And maybe I just want to see, I want to crop just the zinnies. So now what I can do is I can literally just call this Bascom Hall zinnies. Now what I can do is go up to here, pull that out, add image. And I might just say Bascom Hill, red and white zinnia blooms. That'll be my alt text. Hit select. There it is. Save the draft. Check out the preview. And there you go. I just put a little image up there at the top for a border. Or not a border, but just like a, just an entry point. And if this was my homepage, this wouldn't be here. This little like breadcrumb aspect of it. So you can use a shorter, I shouldn't say shorter, a thinner image, so long as you keep width thinner. I don't know what the right word is there. You can the verticality of said image can be adjusted so long as you are meeting that 1600 pixels width. Okay, so again, go ahead and throw some questions in there if you would like, and I can try and answer them as best I can. But let me talk about a couple of other things that I have been thinking about as I have been helping folks um, build some individualized pages out. So let's go to Photoshop real quick here. Let's close you. So the first thing is you do have the ability to edit what's referred to as the favicon, your site icon. Your site icon is this image that goes in a browser tab or browser window. It's also the image that appears um, when you bookmark things. So these are all various favicons right here. You have the ability to edit that. Again, purpose. Make sure if you're going to put a custom favicon up there, it means something. The default is the W. Close everything. It's this W right here. That's the default, so it works for most of our campus sites. But the favicon is 512 pixels by 512 pixels. So you want to have that size of an image. It shrinks it down, obviously. Nope, do that. So I'm just gonna grab there. All right. So now I'll do file, save as. Cadence site icon, save it, save it. Go back to you. Go back to you. All right. So to set your site icon, you would go to appearance and then customize. And then the site identity is where you can set this value. So you can see I've got that one right there. So I'm going to click change image. I'm going to update this to this one. This is this is more of a design element. So alt text really isn't necessary when it comes to like a design element, but I'm still going to put something in there. And select it. And publish it. And now you'll see actually up there, it's a small image, but I published it. And can I? Nope, because only this can go in zoomed in. But that's how you change your site icon. It doesn't show up that well for this purpose, but that's how you do it. There. Nicole, what quality and size do you recommend? Well, let's see. What does Unsplash have for downloading? So let's see here. Let's see nature. Here's one. What size does it download at? Let's check real quick. Now I have to go digging around in my downloads to see this. Okay, here it is. Um, I by just clicking that download, if I mouse over this real quick, it downloaded it pretty big. And that's honestly, again, I would always start big because now what I can do is I can play around with the cropping, the sizing itself. So, um, it's like, for example, if I know I want to use that full image that I just grabbed, um, now what I could do is I could do image size, say okay, shrink it down a little bit, and then again I can start to play around with some of those things. I have much more flexibility than I do with a smaller image. Sorry. I have siding getting done at my house, and they just texted me that they have a question, so I had to get my wife to go and talk to them. Um, so what I would say is go with the largest image, um, or the original size. So large or original size. I would always go that. I just have more flexibility with those there. All right, back over to you. Hey, Rich is here. Thanks, Rich. Um, okay, so we talked about the favicon, setting your favicon there. Another thing that you can do, and this is for things like, now this isn't like putting actual pictures on your page, but there are also things that you could do with images with like visual elements to also help strengthen the content or to bring attention to the content. And so one of the things that you can take a look at is we have a couple things here. So first and foremost is under at our WISC website under resources and campus resources, we have the Do It icon library. The Do It icon library has a number of free icons that you could use. Um, so that is something to take a look at. We also have shucks. Let's see here. Don't have that bookmark over here, so let's go coding stuff. So there are also a couple of free icon sites out there as well. Which one did I do? Yep, that's the one I did. All right, so sort of coding. So there is the Google Fonts icons out there, as well as the material design icons. I'll grab both of these and drop them into the chat. What about animated GIFs? Wow, that is a difficult question because animated GIFs present to me they do add something to it when so we have a number of lab sites, obviously, and in some of the cases they have like videos of cell degradation, cell replication, cell just various type of cell therapy type things. They have these different types of videos, um, and they want to present them on the page. Well, first off, you have to have something that makes those animated GIFs. I am not familiar with how to make them. I know there are applications on the Mac that do it relatively easily. I don't know that there are Photoshop can make an animated GIF, but it as I said, it Photoshop can get very complicated. That starts to complicate it. But the biggest thing that I would say about creating an animated GIF is if you are going to put an animated GIF onto your page, what I would say is make sure that you are. Hmm, what's the best way to say this? What I would say is make sure you use the caption to designate what's happening within this. In this short image or this short um, uh, video, cells are cells are observed um, fighting off virus intrusion. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm just kind of making this up as I go. So make sure that you are using something to identify what is happening in that image so that a person who cannot see the image or even a person who can't load it, again, think of a person sitting in the middle of a field trying to load this thing on, maybe a questionable cell reception. Um, Make sure that they can at least know what the purpose of it is or what the content of it is going to be so that you don't you don't do a disservice to that audience as well. But I'm not going to try and make one right now because I don't quite know how. I could muddle through it, but I don't want to take up the time to do that. I would be more than happy to work on it if people want to like kind of learn it with me at some point. But yeah, but that's what I would say is for animated GIFs, just make sure that you are somehow also with a text functionality, um, specifying what is happening in that image. And again, if it doesn't support your content, I would argue against using it. If somebody's just like, let's put an animated GIF on there because it's fun to do, no. Okay, so I was talking about the icons. So I wanted to touch on a couple of things with the icons themselves. So let me bounce over here to this. So I was meeting with the group yesterday and kind of trying to introduce some different ways to deliver content. And one of the things that they had was they had somebody who does a lot of um, um, different types of media content delivery. And so I thought, well, if you know that they have different types of media content delivery, you could use icons to sort of differentiate between those two. So, if a person um, does a lot of talking, like podcasting type things or radio interviews, um, I'm going to go with the white background there. So I'll grab that, and then let's say they do TV interviews. Hey, what are you doing? Stop that. So now I can find. Let's see. I mean it's YouTube, so I'll grab the YouTube icon with the white background. Um, or let's see. Let's see if they have one for interview. Nope. Let's try. Mm, I'll use this one. Okay. So now I have these images. And then let me bounce over to here now and let me upload them. Sorry, a lot of bouncing around here. Okay, so this one might not work because it's the white background. Shoot, should have grabbed the other ones. Dun 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 dun. See, this is what it looks like when Matt is muddling. So these will work if I had a different color background than white, but these will work for the white background there. So I have them up again. These are just designed. So from a visual standpoint, from somebody who couldn't see them, it wouldn't be too big of a deal there. But for this purposes, what I would say is like you know. And if I add a new category over here and I go radio interviews, and then I'll set a featured image to this one here. And then we now have this option where I could show it in the post. I don't want to do that. So that's that one. So I'll click publish. And then I'm going to go back up to my posts, and I'm going to, let's see, duplicate this, and then go to my drafts, edit this one. Let's see, interview on channel 3000. And so now this one, I would say new category is TV interviews. Uncheck that. Move that. Set it. And this one's a TV interview. Set the featured image. Publish it. Not going to go too far down this line just because you get the general idea of like what we're doing with this. But essentially now what I would do is I would go back down to my pages, the images for days, and what I would do is I would put in, I would say let's do a 2-column layout, 60/40, text block on the left, my lorem ipsum over here, post list over here on the right, select interviews by categories, and I would choose radio interviews, TV interviews, show the featured image, show an excerpt, etc. Save draft, preview. So I might edit these images a little bit to have a little bit more of a buffer between them, because that one, you can see this one has more white space around the image itself. I might think about editing that image down. But now basically, what I'm doing is I'm using images to create an expectation. This is too much in my excerpt as well, so I would get rid of this. I would edit this down. But one of the things that you can do for images is you can create themes within your site so that people know what type of content they're going to be getting when they click on that type of thing. So it doesn't have to necessarily be a picture. It could be some sort of art, some sort of graphic that visually creates an expectation as well. So think about that kind of thing when you are looking at using images as well. So that is something that could definitely be uh, used as well. Let's see. Any other questions about some of these image type things? One last thing that I do want to just share is I was having this conversation yesterday, and a person um, asked about social media icons. And one of the things that exists within the UW theme are some shortcodes. And we have a shortcode list up at our knowledge base. And one of them is the UW Madison social. And I bet you I don't have any social media things set up, but I can show you within our WISC website. Maybe. I think we have social media stuff set up here. Nope, we don't. Who has good social media? Let's take a poke at the grad site. I think the grad site does. Okay, so I'll just I'll show this to you in a preview. I won't save it. So if I go down to here and I put in that short code right there, you can actually embed those social media icons that appear down here as part of your pages as well. So that's just something to be aware of if you wanted to create like a connect type page or a contact type page. You might already have these things set up in your footer, but you can also grab them and put them within the page itself as well. Bum, 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 bum. Well, I think that's it for my rundown on the side. Any questions? Anything that I whipped through that anybody needs a little more, like, more go over? And again, this is one of those things where it's easy to talk about, it's easy to demonstrate. It's hard when you have to do this within your site because you really do have to think about that balance between strengthening your content, providing visual cues, providing calls to action with your images, perhaps with like the featured content block. Um, it's a tricky uh, there's a tricky situation that you might find yourself in. So that's one of those spots where, again, I'll always say reach out to me to see if something something works. Together we can kind of muddle through it and see if something will work from there. So okay, well, so with that all being said, I will end it there. And thank you all for attending and watching. As always, reach out to me if you have any questions. The next Learn with Matt that we do, it might be next week, although I need to make sure that I know everything before I talk. Um, um, sure, there it is. 1600 px by 500 px 72. I'm also in Windows, Nicole. So if you're using Mac, it might just look a little bit different, but the ideas are all the same. Um, so the next Learn with Matt I want to do is the various Google services that you have access to. Not so much how to use Google Analytics, but I guess I shouldn't say not so much how to use Google Analytics, but also using Google Analytics within the context of Google Search Console and Google Custom Search Engine, making sure to combine those items so that you can do a little bit more analysis of how people are finding you and what they're looking for when they land on your site. So that's going to be coming up maybe next week. I haven't looked at my schedule. I never look a day ahead. I never look more than a day ahead, I should say. Um, so that's coming up hopefully next week. If not, it'll be the week after. But that's the next one that I want to do is just like a Google services overview of specifically the big three: analytics, search console, and custom search engine. So look for that. Um, Otherwise, I'll hang out on the line for a little bit, but that's it. Thank you all for attending. Have a good weekend. Stay safe, stay cool. It is warm out there. So I'll talk to everybody soon.